vampires are coming from underneath the ring, and Darby Allin has a flamethrower and he's setting people on fire. Like, these are right out of Vince Russo's playbook. Now, here's the interesting thing, Chris. Think about this for a second. Not one AEW fan has said anything. Imagine if I wrote that. Here's a perfect example. I'll give you it just happened. Bro, I did a YouTube promo today. Okay, I am not kidding you. I want Tony Khan to PayPal me $1 million because now he's stealing from the Vince Russo playbook. Okay, his ranking system and wins and losses and 5-star matches, none of that has worked. Because everybody was telling him for the last 5 years, bro, you're catering to an audience. You'll never grow the audience. Now, bro, he's all of a sudden, he's in, desperation mode because now he doesn't like the way things are going with WBD. I'm sure WBD said something to him about the numbers. So now all of a sudden, oh, bro, vampires are coming from underneath the ring, and Darby Allin has a flamethrower and he's setting people on fire. Like, these are right out of Vince Russo's playbook. Now, here's the interesting thing, Chris. Think about this for a second. Not one AEW fan has said anything. Imagine if I wrote that. Imagine if Tony Khan hired me as a writer and my first week, I did those two things. Yeah. But the AEW faithful, bro, ain't saying nothing. So, like, seriously, Chris, my question to you is, do you think even if they tried, they could run these people off? And what would they have to do to actually run these people off?
Well, we've seen it, Vince. I mean, they've went down half of what they were 5 years ago. So they've run half of their audience off because of what we've seen over the past 5 years.
I'm talking about the WWE though, primarily.
Oh, you're talking. Well, I mean, if you have a longer, data set when it comes to that. I mean, like you'll bring back Hogan and Goldberg and stuff like that, and you'll pop a number. I mean, we saw it with The Rock even.
Yeah,
they lost over 1 million viewers between Raw and SmackDown over a matter of 2 weeks. So they're losing them.
Did they seem to care?
I think that you'll look at the pressers with Triple H. You'll look at the pressers with Tony Khan. As someone with a PR degree, I don't necessarily agree with their approach, but I can totally understand why they would say something like that. They're not going to admit to any type of downward spiral. They're not going to admit to any failure. They're not going to say we effed up. They're not going to do any of that stuff. They're going to try to spin. Now, that's what it's called. It's called spinning. They're going to spin everything that they possibly can to make their image and their brand look good publicly. And so I do think that there's a sign of respect when there's admission that we've seen it, we've seen some declining numbers, and we're doing our best to make some arrangements and having some meetings and aggressively seeking some ways and some strategies to increase those numbers. But the WWE brass, they don't, for some odd and weird reason, they don't think like that. They don't think that way. They'll say, okay, well, we did wonderful numbers in Pakistan, what I mean? Like, and they'll use that as some type of way.
Khan will do that all the time. There'll be one win and 10 losses, and it's all about that one win. Yes. You would never know about those 10 losses. Tony does that all the time. It's always the all in. It's the UK show, the big. He always goes to that, bro. Goes to that.
He was just talking about, like, he was asked about declining numbers and ticket sales, and he'd spun that too. I'm just like, okay, man, look, there's nothing that you can do wrong. Okay, I get it. I see what you're saying. I see where you're getting at.
Chris, I don't know if you're a lot like me, but as a consumer, and maybe I'm in the minority, Chris, I don't know. I respect you a heck of a lot more. Bro, I don't care if you're Keebler. I don't care if you're a cookie company and cookie sales are down. I respect you a lot more if you turn around and say, you know what? The sales aren't the expectations that we were thinking. Man, we're just not connecting with our audience. You know, we're doing something wrong right now, and we need to go back and look at every single aspect of our business. I don't know about you, Chris. I appreciate that because that's real business. You know, business is going to have its ebbs and flows, and you're going to be in downward spirals. And if somebody just turns around and says, you know what, bro, we're not delivering right now. We're not connecting right now. We need to really get back to the drawing board and figure out what this is and give the people what there is they want. Because I guess, Chris, then as a consumer or a fan, at least now I'm like, okay, they recognize it and they're doing something about not they're ignoring it and giving me unicorns and rainbows.
Yes.
That's the part that pisses me off, bro.
What it seems like you're saying, Vince, is that if you're telling me this is a strength, I'm going to perceive it as a strength and critique accordingly. If you're telling me that this is a weakness, I'm going to perceive it as a weakness and be gracious accordingly. And I think that's good PR. You have, like I said before, man, you have to get ahead of the curve. You have to get ahead of the current when it comes to that, because either you're going to be strong enough and you're going to be respectful enough and you're going to appreciate your company enough to go ahead and say, okay, yeah, we need to make some changes. And then that's going to deter the audience to say, okay, I already know that they needed to make some changes, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to have all types of media behind here waiting to say those things. And you're going to, especially with cancel culture and with social media, you know, keyboard warriors, you already have like a dark, you know, type of web back here waiting to release that. So the more you go ahead of that, the more you're stopping a groundswell here. Because guess what? If you don't, this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because they already want to have this kind of exposed, so to speak. And so what you do is you put a damper on that thing and say, oh, no need to expose it. I'm going to be man enough, or you know, as a CEO, or woman enough as a CEO, and say, you know what, you're right. You know what I mean? And that gives the troll and the critic that loses that's it's like popping a balloon, man. It takes so much out of them if they're ready to just charge. And then you step in head of like, yep, you're right. And they're like, oh, like they have nothing now, right? And so I think when it comes to wrestling, we don't really see that dynamic, and I think it's really weird. So
I agree with you.
We shall see where this goes as far as the direction of pro wrestling. Until then, this guy right here is Vince Russo. I'm Dr. Chris. This is Writing with Russo. Have a good night, buddy. So long.
Oh, I like that one.